This is episode 305 of Super League Pod. Only 4 men's and 1 women's Super League game as COVID plus other issues make an untimely return, but still plenty of fan views, too many new nicknames, and loads of blowout scorelines as we cover the game from Townsville to Edinburgh and plenty in between. There's Rugby League long neck scores to settle, and shock coach axings called for. So strap in, because it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to another episode of the Super League Pod. This is episode 305, and this week, to recap everything in Rugby League from the fan's eye view, it is myself, Mark, and I'm joined by Alan. Welcome back, Alan.
Thank you very much. Hello everybody.
We're sort of recording this reeling / just understanding that it was probably what was going to happen about the delay in the opening up, the full opening up of or full removal of restrictions, should we say, in England. But I mean, part of me thinks some of that was inevitable when Rugby League games started to get cancelled again. So after the excitement I discussed last week about going to my first game in over a year, Alan, that didn't happen, did it? Thanks to Huddersfield fucking Giants players. And
well, I was going to say, I wonder if you cursed it yourself, but
I'm not sure how I could. But well, actually, Wigan had 3 games called off across the weekend, all different teams, all called off because the opposition team had COVID cases. We talked about the women's cancellation already on last week's show, and then the under-19s game that Wigan were due to play at the weekend was also pulled because of COVID. Yeah, I'm sure that'll get mentioned through the episode, but hopefully the RFL can get some sort of goodwill out of things with the Challenge Cup final before they can finalise what tickets can go on sale there to the fan bases that will be looking to attend that. And speaking of the fan bases looking to attend that, do you want to tell everyone about our sponsor, Alan?
Yep, so this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. You can find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers if you put SLP discount in at checkout.
Great stuff. Yep, and what we've got coming up on the show is... to be honest, there was a lot of late mail this week, so if Alan's talking about something and I interrupt him because we've missed a fan view from the rundown Alan got before we got the late mail in, then that's going to happen quite a bit. But we've got plenty to cover in the news, a bit around Salford in the news, a bit around the England World Cup, training squad in the news, some other bits and pieces as well there coming out of the RFL. And only 4 matches, unfortunately, from the Rainbow Laces round in Super League to recap. But we've got plenty of other stuff to talk about in other results, with Origin being played last week, and all the way through to the Wheelchair Rugby League tournament that took place in Scotland at the weekend. So we'll talk about all of that, and then we'll do, this feels very much like last year, but we'll do some predictions for games that might not happen as well towards the end of the episode. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my blind because the sun's coming through. And then I'll finish off with a quiz for Kevin Brown's retirement. That's going to lead with the news, I think. So shall we move into the news from the last week in Rugby League?
Let's do it. So we move into the news, and as Mark suggested, so Salford and former England halfback Kevin Brown is to retire at the end of the season after a 20-year professional career. The 36-year-old, who is recovering from an ankle injury, played halfback in the 2017 World Cup final. After starting out at Wigan, he's played 361 senior games for Huddersfield, Widnes, Warrington, Leigh and Salford. And a couple of people have got in touch on this one. Lee Whitnell says, hopefully he stays in rugby league in some capacity. I think he'd make a good coach and a fine pundit should he choose to. My favourite Kev Brown moment was his masterful World Cup Challenge performance against Brisbane Broncos, closely followed by the way he shat on witness. DCE will now have the undisputed longest neck in RL now. Yeah, well, that was never disputed. So congrats to him too.
And Tom Andrews said he can now finally fulfil his true calling of being an older Bart Simpson in real life impersonator. I guess that's the long neck theme as well. Maybe I was thought more ostrich than Bart Simpson, but yeah, Kevin Brown's career. I think the one sad thing to reflect on about his career is he didn't really ever win anything, did he? Which is a shame. He came close a lot of times. He lost a lot of Challenge Cup finals and lost a lot of lost a World Cup final as well, didn't he? And lost some Grand Finals too. Was he at Huddersfield when they won the league leaders? No, they won it the year after, didn't they? 2013. I think.
Yeah. So, yeah, a career of might have beens, perhaps. I mean, it's a long playing career, which is not something that anyone can argue about. Not entirely unexpected kind of injuries at this time of his career. It's hard. It's hard playing top level sport at 36. I mean, 36 is it's not that far away in my past, but I couldn't imagine playing top level sport at that kind of age.
Could you imagine playing top level sport?
Oh well, it was just a matter of missed opportunities, mate. But no, I mean, I think he will go down as a at times good Super League player, I would say. Had his critics at times, I would say, but he also had his fans. In terms of what he does now, I think he's been doing a bit more media stuff, hasn't he, recently? And he's not the worst person with a mic, is he? I would say so.
No, he's quite natural and quite, I'd say, rugby league as well in the way that he talks, but because he's very down to earth in the way he explains things and that sort of stuff. But at the same time, he's very clear and doesn't sound like a parody of a Northerner sort of thing. So I think he is good in that role from what he's shown so far. So there is more opportunity for him to move into that side of things. I would agree. In terms of his career, what memories will you have of Kevin Brown's career and what eras of his career do you think will define him? And I'll throw out a couple of things that come to my mind first to kind of frame this. And there's three kind of key things that I remember. His debut at Wigan in that 2003 Good Friday match that was quite famous, when all the kids were pulled in and Steve-O got him a watch. His season at Widnes when they went on an 8 or 9 game unbeaten run to the start of the season, and kind of after the first half of the season the queue was on the rack, but for them they were safe in the top 8 kind of thing. But the first half of that season he was absolutely exceptional, and it did lead to his call back into the England squad, albeit that probably happened when he was at Warrington really. And then that World Cup run when he became such a key part of the side.
I can't disagree with any of that. Whenever I think of Kevin Brown, I think of him in a Widnes shirt. He always felt slightly incongruous when he's in a Warrington shirt or Salford or whatever. So for me, his kind of best years were at Widnes, I would say. And that's what he's synonymous with for me. But
he probably played the most. In fact, I'm almost certain he played the most for Huddersfield.
He probably did, yeah.
Yeah.
you know what I mean, though, when you think of certain players.
Yeah, you're right.
At certain periods of their career, and for me, he'll always, he's a Widnes kind of. He's in a Widnes kit whenever I think of him. But
you're
right.
The three shirts that stand out are Wigan, Widnes, and England.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, his long neck.
Yeah.
Staying with Salford have suspended Christian Inu for 2 months and fined him 4 weeks' pay for a social media comment which the club have said brought the club into disrepute. The 34-year-old former New Zealand centre made a post relating to former teammate Jared Haynes' conviction and imprisonment for 5 years and 9 months in May for sexual assault. Inu must now attend a club-imposed mandatory education programme. Inu was found guilty by the RFL of a breach of social media conduct, but they've deemed Salford's own penalties following an internal investigation to be sufficient and will not impose further punishment. Salford's disciplinary panel ruled that Inu's comments had brought the club into disrepute, but backdated his ban to his original suspension day last month. Inu's course will touch on social media related behaviour and conduct and has been arranged in conjunction with the University of Salford. I deeply apologise for the comments made, Inu said in a statement. By the inappropriate use of language, my remarks were open to misinterpretation and have caused offence and disrepute to my club Salford Red Devils and the RFL. Along with the club, I will not condone any violence against another person and truly believe that any such victim should receive appropriate support. So he's stopped short of apologising to the individual who might have been offended by his victim blaming post, but all in all,
yeah, it's always a bit mealy mouthed. Yeah,
handled.
When you talk about apologising for causing offence, that's always a bit of a. I always think that's a bit of a red flag for me.
We did get some fan views in, though. Start with Fatboy Robbie said, fair play to Salford, a month's wages and 2 month ban sends a message. Personally, I'd have sacked him. He's shite.
And then Tom Andrews says, lucky compared to his mate T-Rex, but probably about right in comparison to some other bans we've seen issued recently.
And we had a late line in from David Hunter who said, only a fine. If he was a fringe player, he would be gone. Poor form from Salford. I hope Lee win a few games and they get relegated. Well, the ban as well alongside the fine, but I think the sort of headline, given that he's been out of the team anyway, whilst this has all been going on, was more about the fine. But I think Tom's kind of not really understood that. T-Rex didn't really lose anything because he lost a contract for a competition that didn't exist and doesn't exist. But anyway, do we think this has been taken seriously and appropriately?
I think the club have got out in front of it, haven't they? To such a degree that the RFL obviously feel that it's appropriate, and it's obviously it's not dissimilar to some of the other punishments that have been meted out this year for contrary behaviour off the field.
No, of course, the length of the ban is broadly similar to the length of Tony Clubb's ban, and the amount of financial impact, given that Wigan imposed some fines upon him as well as the tribunal fees or whatever he might have had to pay, also matches in that regard, doesn't it? That's the direct recent comparison we're talking about, I suppose, for sort of using inappropriate and unacceptable language. Oh, and the 10-week ban for the Featherstone winger who made an in-joke in an open forum. Yeah.
So they are broadly similar. As I said, the apology seems a little bit. I'm sorry if I've caused offence, but yeah, that's the nature of social media, I'm afraid. So,
what do we think about this course that is being placed on, and do we think that actually, if it's deemed appropriate and necessary for people who've fucked up, what about getting it rolled out to everyone else to sort of, with examples of people who fucked up and the punishments that they've suffered, so it really draws it home to players? Why aren't they all getting this course? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm going to say, because it's he might be the latest case, but he's not the only one by any means. Certainly not in the wider world. So yeah, by if it's good, then we should use it without question.
Yep. I think reasonably dealt with by Salford, and I actually think only because of injuries and stuff is he going to actually probably find himself back in the side. And they do need a centre at the moment.
Well, they definitely need something.
Well, the fact that they're banning him whilst they need a centre so fucking much, they could